My Lords, it's a pleasure to follow the Noble Lord, Lord Davies of Brixton, who's seeking, I think, to achieve the same goals as two amendments in this group to which I've attached my name, Amendment 43 in the name of the Noble Baroness Hayman of Alec, and Amendment 57 in the names of the Noble Lord Wallace of Saltaire and Lord Fox. But I'm going to focus on those because they're the ones that I've really done my best to get round the technical detail of. And I think, having listened to the very powerful introductions from both, I do have to note that Noble Lady Baroness Hayman noted the issues with the Australian trade deal, and it is a bit of a pity of joined-up thinking that this committee is taking it at the same time as the main chamber is debating the Australian trade deal, and some joined-up thinking might have ensured that people were able to participate in both. However, that's perhaps a very large aspiration we can all work towards. What I wanted to focus on particularly is, and I think perhaps the really most crucial part of Amendment 43 is 1A, promoting the public good, the strategic national priorities of economic, social, environmental and public safety. I think I might actually prefer public health as a wording there, which is perhaps broader than public safety for reasons I'll come to in a second. So that's something perhaps we might consider in future. But the government is actually signed up to those principles, at least theoretically, in everything that it does, because the government is signed up, as the rest of the world, to the Sustainable Development Goals. And I cite the July 15, 2021, which says the UK is committed to the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. The most effective way we have to do this is by ensuring that the goals are fully embedded in planned activity of each government department. Now, that's talking about planned activities of government departments, for which one might think making legislation is an activity of a government department. I think that is, however, a very centralised view because it's talking about central government's spending, and it's not focused on other spending that surely, if we are going to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals, has to be embedded right across the broad breadth of spending. So what this Amendment 43, I think, does is essentially broadens out and attempts to deliver something that the government is very fundamentally, nationally and internationally, signed up to do. And I note further that Cabinet Office report says that all signatories are expected to, I'm abbreviating here, all signatories are expected to deliver them domestically. Yet I note that NGO studies demonstrate that the UK is not on track to deliver one single sustainable development goal. And this, surely, this procurement bill is an absolutely crucial mechanism for delivering those sustainable development goals of economic, social and environmental advance, meeting people's basic needs while looking after our natural world, ensuring that we have a natural world for the future. So I would suggest that the amendment put forward by the Noble Lady, and indeed I think the Amendment 57 in the name of the Noble Lord, Lord Wallace of Saltaire, comes at this in a different kind of way, but I think really the amendment that I think is absolutely crucial, putting the principles of the Sustainable Development Goals to which the government is signed up to on the face of this bill. Now, I do just want to also perhaps address the second part of Amendment 43, which is about if a contracting authority considers it's unable to act in accordance with any of these principles, it must essentially publish a report and take reasonable steps to ensure that it's not discriminating. Now, I think I did, when I looked at this, thinking about signing this amendment, worry about this, because surely these are principles we should be delivering on. Yet, of course, we all know the practical reality is that many organisations procuring essential services simply don't have enough money to do what they need to do. And I think this is particularly where we come to the value for money point of Amendment 57. And I was thinking of putting this in practical terms, because a lot of what we're talking about here is very technical and very very abstract. And we think of a very common fable whereby a poor person, because they only have £10 in their pocket, is forced to buy a cheap pair of shoes. And then is forced to, every 3 months, buy a new pair of cheap shoes. And a wealthy person who has £100 in their pocket can buy a pair of shoes that last them for 10 years. So, of course, in the end, the poor person ends up spending vastly more money on shoes than a wealthy person has because they've had no choice. So maybe we do, given our current situation, need part two of this, but I think we have to look at the question of whether that is not something it's a bigger, broader problem beyond even the realms of this bill. But nonetheless, I think what this group of amendments really demonstrates is this bill is severely deficient in its current form. This cannot be an area from a framework bill. And I will just also very briefly mention, because I think it is a very important issue, I commend the Noble Lord Clement Jones for his amendment, because we are seeing increasing levels of automation in many aspects of judgments being made, the human judgment being taken out, and AI and algorithms being put in their place. And there is a great deal of evidence demonstrating that those, the way those are being developed, the data which they're based on, very often fits in the old adage of garbage in, garbage out. We need to make sure that any automation of these processes is indeed not discriminatory. And I think that's why also, again, coming back to the discriminatory elements that the noble lady Baroness Hayman of Ulloch pointed out to was entirely lacking in any provision in the bill at the moment. So 1F provides those as well.